Hello and welcome to part 1 of module 4 in our Angular series. What we're going to discuss today are global variables and interfaces. Now, what are global variables? Global variables are variables that we can put into a file outside of all components and then export them to the components that need them, right? Why do we need global variables in our project? Let's look at the current logic. We have item name that comes in as a parameter to our add quantity function. We then increment the user's cart quantity by 1. We then proceed to create an object and append that object to the items array. So I hope you've understood now what an object is and why we're using objects here, as well as why we need to use an array and what an array is. Right, so as I said, we append the object to items array and our function ends there. But what about, for example, the total amount due from the user or the customer? Right, we're not calculating that, so we need to add that in. But in order to calculate the total cost, we need access to the price of each item, right? Now, in a real world environment, the price and other details, including item description, etc., would be available on a server, right? Where there would be a database and we could access the values from that. But we don't have access to a server or a database. So we're going to use global variables to simulate that environment. So come now to your project. If you're using Windows, type in VS Code, right? And then look in the recent folders and workspaces. If you see your project there, click on the folder and that should open up Visual Studio Code along with your project. If you don't see your project there, no worries. Just type in node.js, right? And then click open. And then change directory to your project directory, right? And then type in code space dot, press enter, and that should load Visual Studio Code along with your project as well. Right, now I already have mine open, so we need to come straight to the Explorer now. This is our file Explorer. We're going to create the file for the global variables, and to do that we need to click, or rather right click on our app directory, click new file, and then put in the name of the file. So global variables.ts, you can name it whatever you like, right? But just see that it's meaningful to what it contains. And so you can also name it export variables, right? Now you can see that I'm getting this message. That's because I created it earlier. So once your file is created, if you scroll down in the Explorer, you should see your file. Click on the file, and this is what we need to put in. So you can see here we are exporting the constant item array, which you can see is an array, right? And it's an array of objects. How do we know? You can see the key value pairs and also the curly braces, right, with each of these elements. Now, the fastest way for you to create this file is to put in the first element and then select that, Control C to copy and Control V 11 times, and you'll have 12 elements in your array. And then what you need to do is just change the code and the description. Only make sure that the description is the same as the name for the parameter in your store component view file. Why? Because remember, this is going as a parameter to the add quantity function, and we will need that same parameter to access these elements in the array, right? So once you're done with creating this file, we can then talk about interfaces. You can pause the video at this point until your file is created. Now, if you're done creating the file, for global variables. What is an interface? Now remember the last time we had here item object and we had specified that it is an object with its key value pairs, right? So this was a kind of a template on the basis of which we created the object. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create a template, right? Which of course is the interface, but we're going to create it outside every component. So it's not going to be in any components. It's in a separate file, right? And then we can share that interface with other components. So to create that file, again, we need to look for our our app directory. Right click on the app directory, click new file, and I think I've named it item interface .ts. Both global variables and item interface here are TypeScript files, as you can see from the extension or the secondary name .ts. Okay, so again I get the message because I had created the file earlier. Once you've created the file, you should be able to see it when you scroll down in the Explorer. Right, click on the file, and this is what we need to put in. So here we are specifying export interface, and the name of the interface is going to be item template. You can give it any name you like, right? But this is the name that we will use in our components. So export interface item template, and you will notice now that all these keys are the same as we have in our global variables file. Right? So the interface is based on these elements. So we have item code, description, quantity in stock, item price, and quantity ordered. And you'll have the same here. So what's important to note here is that now that we've created this interface, we can take this name and use it as a type. Okay, we can use it as a type in our component file. And we'll see how. Once you're done creating the interface, come to your stored component TypeScript file, and we need to now import item array as well as the interface. So just put in there import and item array. Make sure to leave a space here, so that provides for easy readability of your code. From, and now we need to specify that it's coming from the app directory. Now if we look at our Explorer here on the left, you will see that currently we are in the store component, right? The app directory is just one above all our components, right? So in order to specify that it's coming from the app directory, we need to put in here 2 dots. If we put in 1 dot, it would mean the current directory, which is the store. 2 dots would mean the app. Okay, so // global variables semicolon. Note how we do not put the .ts or the secondary name of that file. The next import we need to do is for the interface. So item template, and you will see I've made this camel case, right? So you can change that in your item interface file as well to camel case. Okay. From again, that's in the app directory. So // the name of the file is item interface. And again, we don't put in that .ts semicolon. The next thing to do is now to use the interface as a type. So here we have public items of any type We'll now specify that it is of item template type. Okay, so remember that we can use the interface we create as a type. Once we've done that, let's now put in the code. So the first thing we'll do is, let's just comment out this code. Select all of it, Control//, it should be commented out. Now I'm going to put in a comment here saying module 4 for your reference, and you can do the same. And now we'll start putting in the code. So the first line of the code will be the same, right? This dot cart unty plus plus. So we've incremented the user's cart quantity by 1. The next thing we need to do is, remember, calculate total cost. Here I'm going to put a comment again, calculation of total cost. So what are we going to do within that? We need to now access the price, remember, from our item array. And to access that price, we need to grab that particular element which has the same description as item name, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use the map method, and this is one way of doing it. Okay, so const names equal to, and to use the map method, we need to specify which array we are applying that to. So it's item array dot map, and in the map method we have this function which will take a parameter. You can call it lm, you can call it L. The reason I'm calling it lm or L because it represents each element in the item array. Okay, so I'm going to call that L, and then we need to start our function. So just open curly braces, press enter after the opening one. Okay, and we just need to state here what we want names to be assigned, or what should go into names. So here we want for each element, that's L, the description. Right? So at the end of execution of these lines of code, names will be a string array. Remember what is coming from here in terms of the description, right, is a string. So names will be a string array containing the descriptions of all elements in the item array. Once we have that, we need to find out in this names array now which description matches item name. Okay, and to do that we will use the method index of. So here we need to use a property in order to store that index. So I'm going to use this dot found, and you can declare it up there. It's a number type, right? Public found of number type equal to 0. So this dot found equal to names dot index of, right? So find the index in names of, or the position in names of item name, right? So I hope this is clear so far. Once we have that position, we know now where in the item array this item name is located. right? Remember what we did? We used the map method to extract all descriptions into names. So we have them in that order, right, from 0 to 11. And now we are using the index of to find the position in names at which the description that is in item name is located. Right, so now we can calculate total cost. How do we do that? This dot total cost plus equal to. Now what's the meaning of plus equal to? It's the same as saying in mathematics, total cost equal to total cost plus item price. We can do it that way as well, but that's not considered efficient coding. So we need to use a plus equal to, which will do the same thing. So plus equal to, now item array of, right? Remember we said we could put in a 0 there that would refer to the first element, or 1 would refer to the second element, and so on. But we need the element which is located at the position specified or indicated by this dot found, right? So this dot found, right, dot item price. Okay, so now we have the total cost calculated. Once we've done that, we can now assign the entire element from item array that is located at the position specified by this dot found. We can assign that to item object. But remember, item object was based on this template. We don't need this template anymore. So you can safely just delete that and leave it just as an any type. So now we can assign to item object to item array of this dot found. So now what will happen is the entire element from item array will be assigned to item object. Once we have that assigned, then we can update the quantity ordered. So this dot item object dot qtY_ord plus plus. Right, so that's incremented by 1. We can now append item object to the items array, which remember represents the user's cart. So this dot items dot push this dot item object, right? Now we can add a few console.log statements. So let's add one here, console.log names, right, comma names, right? So this will show us a literal, and then we'll have the contents of names. The next console.log we can put in after the found property has been assigned the index, right? The index of item name in the names array. So console.log item added by user is located at position slash index plus this dot found plus in the names array. Okay. And the last one we'll do is for the items array, which remember represents the cart. So here we can put a comment saying items represents user's cart, right? And console.log items /cart, comma items, or this dot items. If I don't put in the keyword this, what happens? Remember, I will get a squiggly reminding me to put in that keyword. Okay. So now that that is done, let's understand the code we've put in here. We have this dot quantity, cart quantity plus plus. We know what that is doing. We are then using the map method, right, to extract from every element in item array the description and put that into names. And at the end of this, names would be a string array. Then we have a console.log to see what names contains. We are using a found property to find the index of the item the user bought in the names array. Right, and then of course we have a console.log statement again. Right, we need to close brackets here with the semicolon. Okay. Then we have the total cost being calculated. How? By accessing the element in item array located at the index or the position specified by the found property, and then accessing the item price from that, right, from that element. After that, we assign to item object the entire element in the item array, again located at the position indicated by this dot found. We then update the quantity order, increase it by 1, and append item object to the items array which represents the cart. And that's all. Right? Now, we need to display these to the user, right? Remember, we are displaying now the cart. So come to cart component HTML and we need to include total cost like I've done here. So just put that in. And we could also show the user the price, right? So item price. And remember, this is no longer item description, it's just DESC as described or as declared in our global variables file, and quantity ordered has a lowercase q. So once you've done this, remember now that these properties are coming from the store component, right? We need to make sure that they are declared with the input decorator in the cart component. So come to the cart component TypeScript file, that is, and we already have items. So since we have items, description and quantity ordered as well as item price will all come from that items array. The only other property we need to add is total cost. So let's add that. Put that in with the input decorator. So add input total cost colon number equal to 0. Okay. Now, once we've done this, then we need to go to our store component HTML file and put in total cost there. So total cost equal to, in quotes, total cost, right? And now we can compile this, right? So to compile, you know what to do. Type in node.js, open the command prompt. This is if you went to your project through VS Code. If you went through Node.js, just come back to the prompt and then type in ng serve. For those who use VS Code, we need to change directory, right? And then type in ng serve. Now that compilation is done, come to your browser. Type in localhost 4200. Right now, let's see how this works. First, before we actually add to cart, right click on your screen, click inspect, and let's come to the console directly in Chrome Developer Tools. Now let's add to cart, and you can see here we have the names array, right, with the descriptions from all elements in item array. Then we have our message, item added by user is located at position 0, right? Then we have the items array or the cart, which has the item we just added, right? And of course, in the cart, we can see the description, the quantity, and the price, right? Now let's do that with one more. And again, you can see the description, the quantity, and the price, as well as total cost is increased. If we come to the console, we will again be able to see the names array. Item added by the user is located at position 1. And then in the cart, we can see the 2 items we added. Right, let's add one more. Right, so we have the cart there. And if we go to the console, we can again see the names array as well as the message. The item added by the user is located at position or index 3 in the names array. And then the cart. Right, so we are done with our session for today. Since we are done early, there are some additional pieces of information that I would like to give you. So come now back to our store component TypeScript file. And remember, here we use the map method. There's another way of writing this code, and that is using what are called arrow functions. So we will say const names equal to item array dot map. And now when we use arrow functions, we don't need to specify this term function. All we need to specify is our parameter. So we'll put that parameter in, right? And then we don't need these curly braces, and we don't need the return statement as well. The return is implicit. So we just put in that arrow, which is a combination of your equal to sign and the greater than sign, right? And we want the description, right? So just put that in. Now, why am I getting squiggly here? Because I have names put in there twice. So let me comment this out. Okay. And we can go ahead and execute, and you will see that this shortened statement does the same thing as these lines of code, right? So if we go back and just clear the console, right, now add to cart, you can see that it does the same thing, right? But it's a shorter uh, method of writing that same code. Okay, so that's one. The second thing is to do with our cart component HTML file. So let's come to the cart component HTML file. So I was having some issues with the way this was rendering, maybe because I'm using a different laptop, I'm not sure. But if you're having any issues, just put in a styling class there, and the only two properties I put in were max width and max height, fit content, right? So you can put that in. And the other thing I want to mention to you here is regarding the ng4 directive, right? Remember in the last module, we spoke about this being the iterator, right? I just made a mention of it, that this is called the iterator. Now, it is through the iterator implicitly, right, that the number of iterations will be made. What do I mean by iteration? The number of times the code within this opening and closing span tag will be executed. Okay, so now iteration and iterator are common across computer languages, right? And so you need to understand what they are. The last thing I need to talk to you about is to do with our store, not the store, sorry, the app HTML. And here, remember, we put in an image for our menu bar. There's another way of doing this without looking for an image online. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that same line. Okay, and I'm going to remove this image tag. Okay, so you can do that as well. So you have this for reference. Just remove the image tag. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, in our Windows search, type in CHAR. We're going to be using the Windows character map. Click open on the character map app, and we will get access to different character sets. Now the one we are looking for is called Sego UI symbol. So just select that set, and when you scroll down, you will see a symbol that can be used as our menu bar, and there it is, right? It's called Trigram of Heaven, as you can see when I mouse over it, right? All you need to do is click on it, select it, and copy that into the space where we had our image, right? So now if you go and look at the screen, so that's how it looks, right? And then of course you can change the styling a bit if you like, right? So that's an alternative to getting an image. And if you look at those symbols, there are many different types, right? So you can use some of these for your project. Okay. So that's all for today. Hope you had fun doing this session with me. In the next session, we will talk about Angular pipes and Angular services. Till then, take care, stay safe. Bye.